Glad to be back. Sorry I missed out last week. I was ill, so I had to postpone. Still going to do the lesson that I was going to do last week. I'm just going to do it at a different time. So if you go to fatimabey.com/events, you can see the updated um, event schedule of what topics I'll be talking about on what day. All right. So for those of you who are brand new and don't know me yet, my name is Fatima Bey the MindShifter, and I am an international coach, and I help people to shift their thinking for their own success. And this is something I do through many different mediums. I have a podcast. I do group coaching. I do group sessions. I do individual coaching. I have an audio blog. Um, I do speaking engagements. I do this, a number of things. So you can go to fatimbai.com to learn more. Now let's get to today's message. So I'm here every Monday at 7 o'clock, and right in doing a series that this is like I think the third session of the series, and it's called "You Already Know This." Notice I said it with an attitude. The series is called "You Already Know This." So in this series, I'm talking about it's a 12-week series. I'm talking about 12 different cliches, which are common sayings that we're all tired of hearing, that we've heard over and over again. They've been overused and abused, and they've lost their savor because of it. I'm here to bring the flavor back to them and give them some balance because some of these are often misused, which is causing damage. And so I'm here to bring some balance to the conversation. And this will help you because when you hear these things, hopefully the next time you hear some of these phrases, you will see them and hear them differently because of this. Now, um, today we're talking about the cliche treat yourself. Gotta treat yourself. That ice cream, that movie, that man, treat yourself. So, we're going to talk about how that cliche is misused a lot, but it does actually have good meaning behind it. I'm going to start off by telling you a little story. So, when I think of a time where not this phrase, but this principle was used properly, is Joyce Myers. She wrote a book called "Eat the Cookie, Buy the Shoes." I think it's called. Don't quote me on that. I didn't write I didn't write it down, but it's called something like that. When she wrote that book, and when she presented that principle behind the concept behind the book is what I want to talk about, not the actual book, because I didn't actually read the book, but I know her well enough to kind of guess what's in it, and understand the principle behind it. But it's the principle behind that book. So when she wrote that book presents the concept of don't beat yourself up. Go ahead and treat yourself. It is okay to not work 97 hours a day, and it is okay to once in a while indulge yourself. It is okay to take a break. While this is a very true principle, I want to point out the context in which she wrote that. She wrote that many years ago, probably 20 years ago at this point, maybe 15. I don't know how many years ago now, but she wrote that many years ago. And at the time, this current culture wasn't the culture. So at the time, that book made a lot of sense and it spoke to a lot of women and it was great. However, that principle behind what she talked about has been abused and misused. And now this term has become a phrase that people use as an excuse for BS. They use it as an excuse to not deal with stuff. So we're going to take a deep dive into that. I'm going to talk about it in a way that you probably haven't heard used with this phrase before. So treat yourself. We've all heard it over and over and over again. But let me ask you this question. When does that expensive dinner that you're treating yourself with stop being a reward and start being procrastination? When does that weekend binge watch stop being rest and start becoming your fuel for procrastination? Do you know the difference between need for rest and procrastination? Now, this is something that I have personally been guilty of myself. I will not lie to you. I have personally been guilty of this. So I do get this. And there is a difference between the two. So here's the difference between confusing the issue is confusing indulgence with restoration. Those are two different things. And very often when people say treat yourself, they're really talking about indulgence and not really restoration. There is a large difference. So why this is so tricky is because indulgence is a quick fix for stress. You're stressed out about your husband, you're stressed out about your jobs, your kids, whatever you're stressed, the community center, whatever it is for you, because all of our details are different, but the principles are the same. So the principle here is that indulgence is when you treat yourself as a quick fix for a problem, not as a rest from actual work. The result is these treats are actually numbing a feeling. You're trying to numb what you have to deal with at work. You're trying to numb your issues about your relationship, whatever your details are. That's not treating yourself. That's indulgence and a form of procrastination, really. And here's the kicker, it's a form of self sabotage. I'm going to take a deep diver into why that is. So here is the evidence of self sabotage. How you know your treat is a trap, because sometimes it's a trap. By the way, I'm using a mic today, so let me know if this sounds better. I hope so. Um, I'm plugging in the mic today, so hopefully it sounds better. Um, just let me know, and you know, if it doesn't, I will not use it next time. But I'm trying to sound better. So, why this is so tricky because our current culture markets indulgence as a quick fix for stress. And how do you know what's the evidence that your treat is self sabotage? I'm not going to give you the entire list. I'm just going to give you three of them because I gave the entire list. This will be a full 5 hour seminar. So, the guilt hangover. Do you feel worse after your quote unquote treat? Now, I want to add this balance to this. Some of you feel guilty after treating yourself because you feel guilty about anything that has to do with valuing yourself. I'm not talking about that in this context. That is a different conversation. Do you feel guilty because you knew you had to finish that paper by midnight so you can get it out tomorrow, but you binge watched television all night and didn't get it done? You're like, I treated myself. You didn't finish your work and you procrastinated. That's what you did. And then you feel guilty about it. That's the guilt I'm talking about. And the other one is the goal deficit. Did your treat, your indulgence, actually move you further away from your goal? And I don't mean, did you spend 20 minutes to give yourself a massage? Like using one of those little massage machines? Oh, those hand massagers are wonderful. Did you spend, I'm not talking about, did you spend 20 minutes giving yourself a massage and now you're 20 minutes behind on your work? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, did you, just using the example that I just gave, did you binge watch all night and you didn't get your assignment done? Now you got to find a time to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to do it. I've been there. I'm not teaching y'all anything I don't know. I have done that myself. I have used procrastination is another topic, and I will talk about that. But it's related to this because sometimes we want to treat ourselves and we want to indulge when all we're really doing is pushing off the inevitable. We're pushing off the thing that we know we don't want to do, that stressful thing we don't want to do. We're pushing off that assignment. We're pushing off whatever it is, the conversation we don't want to have. So I'm going to pretend like me and my husband or boyfriend don't need to have this conversation, and I'm going to watch TV instead, and I'm going to treat myself. You're not treating yourself. You're ignoring stuff, pushing it off so it can come back and punch you in the face later. That's what you're doing. And then the other one is the avoidance pattern. So I just alluded to some of this. So the avoidance pattern. So when you are using treating yourself as a way to avoid your issues, Some would call that procrastination. There are many different verbs that you could use. There are many different words that you could use for that. So, are you avoiding what you need to deal with so that you can say that you're treating yourself? Because here's the thing that we do a lot, and this is through, you're going to find this throughout my entire series. We will take the right concept and apply it to the wrong thing all the time. A lot of this whole series is about that very thing, taking the right concept and misapplying it, which actually does more damage than good. Because now you binge watch, now you feel guilty, now you're like, I can't do anything right, I'm so stupid. You might not say those things out loud, but you say them in your head. The conversation in your head is going something similar to that. And you're beating yourself up because you decided to treat yourself. You don't even enjoy the treat because half the time you're sitting there thinking, oh my God, I'm not getting this done. I got to, oh my God. Am I talking to anybody? And let's talk about the uncomfortable truth as far as why. So here's some questions I want you to ask yourself when you're quote unquote treating yourself. If you're unsure if you're treating or self sabotage, am I rewarding a behavior or am I numbing a feeling? That's the main number one question you need to ask yourself before you treat yourself. Am I rewarding a behavior or am I numbing a feeling? For example, I completed that difficult project, so I will enjoy a guilt free dinner out. That's a reward. That's beautiful. You should. And I've done that myself. I have in the past, I've done all of this the rewards and the sabotage. So I have, like, you finish. Oh my God, I had these three wedding gowns to do, and they, or just one. And it was so difficult and so much work that, oh my God, I finally finished this big task. I'm going to reward myself with an ice cream cone. I'm going to reward myself with a piece of pizza. I like food. I'm going to reward myself with some chocolate. I'm going to sit back and eat popcorn and watch, TV for an hour. Something like that. And taking a break. That's healthy. Now, what that looks like for you might be different than what it looks like for me. And there's nothing wrong with that. We're all going to relax a little bit differently, and that's okay. But when you are when you are looking at that, you want to ask yourself, am I am I awarding good behavior or am I numbing a feeling? And the other thing is, this reinforces discipline and links pleasure with accomplishment. This is an association you want your body to learn. You want your spirit, your soul, your mind to learn. You want to associate. It is good for you to teach yourself to associate reward after work. Now, your work does not need to be approved by me. Your work is not going to look like my work. Your work might be mental. You may have stopped yourself from doing something that a couple of months ago you would have done. And you're like, you know what? That stressed me out, but I got through it. I'm going to reward myself. That's healthy. That's when you treat yourself. And that's a beautiful thing. I am a stay at home mom and I work my behind off all day, every day. Stay at home moms, most of them anyway, do work. That is a full time job. And they're some of the best mothers because they can stay home and they can be there. You might want to reward yourself by going out for the weekend, being having a night away from the kids, whatever it is for you. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a healthy treat yourself. You work really hard, you're a CEO, you work 60 hours a week, and you just want to take a day off and go to a spa. That's healthy and you should. Schedule it out. Everybody else can go sit down somewhere. You're unavailable, turn your phone off and do it. That's a healthy treat yourself. You are rewarding yourself for the good behavior. You're rewarding yourself for all the hard work you did. Now, if you have a lot of work to do and you just kind of didn't do what you're supposed to do in the first place, and you're like, I'm gonna go get my nails done instead. Well, that's procrastination and that's self sabotage. That is a different thing. Trying to help you all to understand the difference. So, I want you to take away the phrase treat yourself and replace it with intentional restoration. With that is the word restoration. Do you need to be restored? Have you done any work to restore? That's not an accusation. That's a question I genuinely want you to ask yourself. And for many of you, the answer is absolutely yes. For some of you, no, you didn't do it in the first place. So, what are you restoring? Now, here's a solution. I'm going to give you a what I call the three A's of intentional restoration. So, and they are alignment, aftermath, and advancement. So let me explain what that means. Alignment. Does the action align with the person I'm trying to become and the goals I have set? So rewarding yourself after hard work does align with a person you're trying to become because you're trying to be a healthy person. You're trying to be a balanced person. You're trying to be a well functioning person. So giving yourself the break and the rest that you need is a part of that. So in that instance, the answer is yes. But if it's just going to watch the movie and binge watch something when you have work to do that you haven't finished yet, then the answer is no. Now, if you keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing yourself and you haven't had a break, you need to have one. But here's the key thing when it comes to breaks and treating yourself. You need to plan a lot of them. Sometimes you just got to take a break. I but a lot of times we wouldn't get to the point where we need that so much if we plan our breaks. So plan your time off. Plan your rest. You know what? I have all these other things scheduled on Sunday the 25th. I'm making up a date. On Sunday the 25th, I ain't doing nothing. I'm turning off my phone. I'm not scheduling anything. My answer to that day is no. You need to do that for yourself because if you don't, you will get burnout. And that's where you feel guilty about treating yourself because you think you have to run like Speedy Gonzalez everywhere and you don't. Aftermath. How do you feel after you've been quote unquote restored? How do you feel after your treat? Do you feel restored after what you did? If the answer is no, there might be a couple of reasons. One of them, you probably weren't, you probably didn't need to take a break because you didn't finish what you're supposed to do in the first place anyway. But sometimes we don't feel restored because we won't allow ourselves to relax. You're sitting there on the beach. You plan the day for the beach. You're supposed to relax, enjoy the breeze, get in the water, and instead you're thinking about all the other stuff. You can't turn your overworked brain off and you won't allow yourself to enjoy yourself. You might feel guilty about that, but that's a wrong guilt because you're not guilty. You work hard every day. You plan some time off, and damn it, you deserve some time off, and you should. So what I'm saying is, do you feel guilty afterwards because you should feel guilty? Not do you feel guilty afterwards because you took a break. Those are two different things, and I want to make sure that you understand those things. I don't just want to give you a general statement of saying, do you feel guilty afterwards? And then if you feel guilty afterwards, then it's an absolute yes that you shouldn't have done that. No, you need to look at why you feel guilty. And then advancement. Does this action advance my well-being in the long term? Or is it just a temporary patch? That's a real easy question to answer. And it's a hard question to have. It's a hard question to face yourself with. It's a hard question to ask yourself in the mirror. Did that really advance myself? Does this action advance me or is it a temporary patch? That's for you to answer because you know the real answer. And don't lie to yourself about it. And if the answer is a patch, okay. So now it's time to do something about that. So here's the mind shift I want you to walk away with. True self-care. Oh, let me I forgot. I skipped over one actually really important part. I want you to redefine the treat. A true treat doesn't have to be expensive. Your treat might be to sit on the couch or at a table and do your own nails while you relax to jazz music. It might be to sit outside and drink some iced tea and just experience the breeze. There are things that you can do that it doesn't have to be a cruise. It doesn't have to be an expensive trip to Jamaica. It can be something that's free and relaxing for you. Now, for some people, it might be salsa dancing. Like me, I'm a salsa dancer. So sometimes a treat can be I'm going to go dance and forget all my cares in the world just for those few minutes, spin on the floor, enjoy the music, feel the music. And I have used that as a treat for myself at times. It can also be something that you use to self sabotage yourself with indulgence because you enjoy it and you're procrastinating. I have done both with salsa. I'll be honest with you. You can do both with anything too. But my goal is to get you to understand the difference, to examine yourself, and to go for the true treat, the true restoration, the true relaxation that you need. And sometimes it could be dancing, it could be, for some of you, it might be bowling, it might be golfing, it could be another physical thing, but it relaxes your mind and it helps you to calm. It helps you to get into a different space. And that's good. And again, it doesn't have to be anything expensive. Um, so true self care isn't about escaping your life. So here's the thing: if your self care is to escape your life, then there's a problem with your life, and you need to fix that in the first place. I don't mean your life is always going to be perfect. I don't mean there's never going to be stress because as long as you're a human being on this earth, you will have stress and you will have crap you got to deal with and stupid people you got to talk to. That's just life. I'm talking about when you need to escape your life, then you have to look at why. I find that most of the time when people need to escape their lives, it's not always because of what they're doing. Often it's because of what they're not doing. They're not saying no to things they need to say no to. One of the reasons misery creeps into people's lives, it's not the only reason, but one of the reasons, we don't say no enough. Everybody doesn't deserve your time. Everybody does not deserve your time. Your time is precious and you need to treat it as such. Sometimes you got to say no. Sometimes the answer is just no, I can't do that. I got enough on my plate right now. Treating yourself, it's about building a life that you don't need to escape from. Like I was just saying, you want to build a life that you don't need to escape from, that you need to rest from here and there. Sure, but not one that you need to escape from. Because that, no matter how many times we tell you to treat yourself, that is the real problem. And that is what you need to take care of. And again, not looking for a perfect life, but looking for a fulfilling life that you can manage and not trying to be a superhero and manage everything and everyone because that used to be me and I understand it. Use rewards to reinforce the positive actions that you build in your life. Let me tell you, this actually works. It really, really, really works. If you reinforce, if you treat yourself, if you go ahead and reward yourself for good behavior and things that you've done, the hard work that you've done, the achievement, and it doesn't matter, again, it doesn't matter if I think it's an achievement. What's an achievement for you may be not be a big deal for me, and vice versa. So I'm not talking about anybody else's opinions. Who cares what everybody else thinks? I'm talking about you. You know that you overcame something, that this was a big deal for you. There's nothing wrong with treating yourself. Matter of fact, if you do mentally, you're reinforcing that good behavior. Just like when we're kids, we reinforce good behavior, we get better behavior, generally speaking. It doesn't change when we get older. We're still humans. So if you reinforce the positive things that you're doing, you reinforce the good things that you have worked so hard for, that you're working hard at. And some of those things we might not see, but you know them, you see them. You know that this was overcoming for you. Reward yourself. And again, it doesn't have to be anything big, it doesn't have to be a trip to Jamaica. It doesn't even have to be a night out in town. It could be, you know what? There are diets that work this way actually. And there's the ones that work this way are successful. Restrict yourself during the week. Your Well, not overly restrict, but here's your parameters to stay. Here's your food budget within the week. Fridays, go ahead and reward yourself. I know people that stay on that sort of a diet or eating regimen for the rest of their lives because it works for them. That same mindset can work for you. It is okay to reward yourself. Please do. But make sure you have something worth rewarding first and that you're not using it to procrastinate. So, as a recap, before you treat yourself, check the motivation. Ask yourself that question. Am I numbing a feeling or am I rewarding a behavior? Um, and the three A's of after you do an intentional restoration: alignment, aftermath, and advancement. This align with where I'm heading and what I want to do for myself. What is the aftermath of that thing? And is this making me advance? And again, if it relaxes you and it gives you the refuel that you need, even if it's just a mental refueling, but not a physical one, because like salsa dancing and swing dancing, it's all physical exertion, right? It's or a sport, it's physical exertion, but it might be mentally calming for you. And even though that sounds like counterintuitive, it does work because I've lived it. I've seen other people live it, so I know it works. Um, and so that's it for today. But next week's topic is called "Work Smarter, Not Harder," which is something I believe in, but it's been so misused. And we're gonna talk about that too. And if you're looking for the schedule for when I will be talking each week on the topics I'll be talking about each week, the schedule is on fatimabay.com. And if you go to the events tab on the menu, fatimabay.com/events, you will see it's all there with explanations, what it's called, etc. Even pretty pictures. And so thank you all. And if, for those of you who watch me on YouTube, please make sure you like and subscribe because that really matters. I have so many videos. I never ask people to like and subscribe. And I'm gonna start doing it more because I need to be doing that. Because I'm so focused on what I'm talking about. I don't think about those are extra things to me. But it does matter. So please do me a favor and like and subscribe. And if you want to support anything I'm doing, please go to my website. I have an audio blog and a podcast, which are both growing. They take money to grow, so if y'all want to donate, all right. Thank you guys for showing up, and um, I will see you next week.